Lateralus. Let's talk about my favorite. Yes. Apparently it's limited me to 29:52 minutes. I'll fix that later, and I'm done with this. Anyway, sorry about that. So, yeah, the third full length, and apparently at this point in time now, the second longest wait time period between albums, going from having been 96 with Anima, last album I talked about. Go back and check that out. I may have to consider putting links in descriptions or comment sections at this point. I'm not the best organized, and that's probably why I'm not doing as well, but that's fine. It's fine as long as y'all know I talk about this. I'm fine, and I get a chance to talk about it. So, the album starts off with The Grudge. It's a pretty heavy song, and The Grudge does kind of reference, or at least some lines sort of reference the book, The Scarlet Letter. I forgot the author, but I do remember. And most people would probably have, at least, depending on their literature teachers, I guess, relied on using this as one of the things you needed to talk about in literature class or something. But anyways, there's that, and you could tell from even the opening with this sort of elevator thing. And this album does leave off in a sense from Anima, or Anima, or however you're supposed to pronounce this thing. That thing. I might have screwed that up in the last video, and I'm screwing it up now. Figure that. So, The Grudge, like I said, with that opening, and it's very amazing how that works itself out, and how awesome the riffs are, and then even the moments where you get to the sinking deeper. As he's still going with his awesome vocal style. This, ironically, not only is this coming technically, like, literally 5 years, 6, 7, 8, 99, 2000. Well, it's, what? Yeah, technically from that 2001 would technically be a 5-year gap. So maybe 6, maybe. But probably 5. But anyway. Yeah, my brain ain't working anymore. You'd think it would be after listening to this album multiple times, but if anything, it just expanded my horizons in terms of music. At least in terms of what is prog metal and even progressive rock music in general. Or just alternative music in general, maybe. Or at least what should be done. Between that and then eventually down the road, after a while, I eventually finally did dive into Murder Notes. I'm like, why did I deny myself this record? Because that was the record from Perfect Circle that came out shortly prior to the release of this album, and to a degree kind of does affect the way this album is in a good way, especially given a track like Judith. Though more on the follow-up of that going into 10,000 Days, follow-up record, of this one. We'll get to that when I can get to it, and I gotta cram on that one after this is done with. But anyway, ooh, excuse me, sorry for the frog. The Grudge, that heaviness is awesome. Eon Blue Apocalypse. Eon basically based off of I believe a Great Dane dog of Adam Jones? I think it's Adam Jones' dog. They named sort of the song after. That had apparently died from cancer. Sucks. Massive balls. Anyway. And that's a nice little opener that leads into The Patient, which I'm starting to wonder if The Patient is the dog. Now that I've said that and think about it. But anyway. Though it also still seems like it could be also in theme with this record, especially given where they choose to end things off. Because this album is their most spacey of albums. At this point, the band from Anima, up to that point, had played a part in sort of influencing the genres of certain post-rock, but more so post-metal as a genre. ISIS have a band, the band that named themselves after a particular god of a certain mythology that I can't think of, named ISIS, not to be confused with the terrorist group in recent memory, which is because of that group, that band ain't even gonna bother to try to come back. If they do, they'd probably have to rename themselves because of it, and it wouldn't be the same. And that sucks. In fact, them, even other members, including bands like Meshuggah, had been in some involvement. Or at least in terms of live settings, which I may have to wind up getting back to that upon the new release from what I've been hearing. But anyway, which is kind of ironic given, what Meshuggah has done with progressive metal in recent years. Or at least what they have done for progressive metal that's for the betterment and sort of for the worst in terms of like internet memes at this point. But anyway, Patient is pretty good. At first I would consider it weaker until it starts to pick itself up a little bit. Mantras, there's one good thing this record has, it's very less segues and it's way more music. Even those sort of tracks that kind of are segues are really more so music. As I've mentioned in Neon Blue Apocalypse and whatnot, and though the only other times it's legit segues has been Mantra and the final track of Fab de Oid or Olad. I'm trying to either way it technically translates to the voice of God, and apparently it deals with aliens, some recorded message on a podcast or something, or a radio show, late night radio show or a morning show about involving some crazy aliens or something. And before I get more involved into that, back to where we were, Mantra was also speaking of animals, not just dogs, cats too. Apparently a certain particular cat, and probably one of those, and the ugly kinds though, that were like Egyptian, based from Egyptian and used as sort of part of their hieroglyphics. That Persian cat, those ones that are completely have no hair, well, some of them do, but I guess in his case it's mostly a naked one, and it's gently squeezing the cat and it making its own noise in response to it, and them just using it with reverbing and ambient soundscaping it the hell out in crazy, in whatever fashion they do. And of course this is a short little track, and it leads into, of course, the one track that of the singles on this album that are technically was able to be radio friendly, since it's the only one that I do wind up hearing on one of my local radio stations, The Point. Sadly the only one, yet it makes me mad that the rest of this album, at least the songs that do, it's because of it's being too lengthy. And the only time I've ever heard anyone play it on any form of radio, basically satellite, and have been ballsy about it, was satellite radio back in the day, and back in Sirius, and it was just plain Sirius before the Sirius XM merger. Classic, everyone knows, especially that bass line. And just the whole thing, and everyone always screaming, I know the pieces fit. Even more so when it gets to the ending and it's, I know the pieces fit, kind of a thing. And but that's after this, and for some reason they do kind of have a couple seconds here and there, whereas somehow the digital version, especially when it comes to the 3-part monster that is Disposition Reflection, originally titled Resolution but changed later. Also Lateralus was misspelled originally with an I or something in a similar fashion to Anima, but Anima wasn't really technically misspelled. That's how it was supposed to be titled compared to the album's actual title. I don't know how else to put it with that. But Triad doesn't have the 2 minutes and 14 seconds of silence, which isn't bad, but you don't really need it. I mean, it's nice when you're on your way home and you need just time to settle, and that's enough until you get to the track. At least for the album, physical release, it works. But to me, let's go back to the tracks that I sort of sampled, mixed up here and there. Hopefully I don't get apparently copyright claimed, because apparently I did with the last album, for the last album review. Kind of blame because I did go over the usual amount that it says you're not supposed to, and I didn't intend to. It just happened that I wasn't able to stop it in time. And I just hope that the labels give the money to the band. Or at least that's what I'm hoping the deal was when they decided to do the streaming, because it was immediate, which was weird and different in comparison to what happened with me a while back on a Death Heaven review. So, but anyway, back to the album itself. Parabola. Honestly, I understand if that should be my parabola itself. I should be pronouncing right. Just this track is just as a whole between the two of them, when you actually put them in as one track, as it should be, to be honest, and which I think they chose to cut it up a bit, just for certain runtime issues, I guess. Though if you're kind of shuffling, it's kind of a burden, and you're better off just finding a way to get a single version that has them both hooked together to where you get the proper experience of this track. Which is not, of course, not the only one, and I've kind of already hinted at, and we'll get further into later. But Parable and Parabola just there's something about this that hits me the most, and has the most spiritual experience, or at least the riffing just comes at you, and the lead work on this thing. Of course, it's in sort of like a B-E-E-B kind of tuning. It's a weird tuning. I forgot to mention, primarily the band usually does drop D tuning. The only time they haven't, I forgot to mention that Prison Sex is a drop B tuning, but in the similar sense to how a drop D tuning is. It's just dropped completely to B. And I think Alter Bridges has done it in a couple tracks. But anyway, and that tuning, which is kind of cool, and it would almost make sense a couple times. I've heard some Toolish moments in that. But anyway, or at least the guitars are. I don't know about the bass. I've yet to figure that out myself. Then it's just in choosing to be given this body holding me, be my reminder here that I am not alone. I'm fucking up, I know. In this body, I'm kind of fucked up because I already did it earlier, and I think I'm fucking my voice. Hold on. Oh, sorry. I'll stop. Oh. Honestly, I used to do better. I'm sorry. I wanted this to work out better, and I'm fucking my voice, and I'm gonna need some cough drops. I need some lodgings for this shit. Anyways, hell, you'll probably need it even more for the follow-up track. And nobody's gonna touch that one. Even Maynard has a hard time doing it, and it's a rare feat for him to bother to do this. It's probably the only other song aside from Judith with Perfect Circle that is hard for him on his voice because of how much he has to use his more screamed ass vocals. And it's a worthwhile track, and it's a worthwhile treat of a track if you do hear it. Even though I understand if lyrically it doesn't really match up with, I guess, the whatever sense of theme they have with this record, and it's really more so just to prove that they have it in them to do certain types of songs reminiscent of their more undertow-ish, or just to have another one of those hooker with a penis type tracks that have that to them. But it's like all around, and even to the point of even black metal, even certain true cult metalheads can probably not bitch about this track for sure, because this is the most, vocally, it's probably the closest thing to black metal you ever get in terms of screeching as far as this record track is concerned, at least vocal. And it's pretty heavy, and plus the build-up, and also, I forgot to mention, Danny carries drums on this thing. He's always been great, but Danny carries drums on this thing. The bass on this is phenomenal. The guitar tone and some of the choices in guitars is phenomenal as well. But it's more Danny stuff, especially the drumming. It blows clearly songs like Disturbs Down with the Sickness out of the water. I don't care who you are. I don't care if it's a hot take. It does. It does. It does. I mean, And then, of course, the cars coming. And then just finally all come together. And then Maynard sucked at it. I'm not even going to try attempt it proper, as I just fucked up my voice. Lodging. So. And Six Unleashes, and, you know, especially the way they choose to end this song. I hope you chow. And then, of course, following that up, the title track of this record that most people still talk about and is probably considered one of the best metal songs out there, even though I personally think it's, like I've said, Parabola. But I understand people who will talk about another track coming, three-parter that comes up on this record that comes after Lateralus here. And I have a beef with anyone who decided to think Holy Gift was a better idea. Fuck you. This track listing is how you fucking... This is how you fucking listen to the son of a bitch. This beautiful, beautiful son of a bitch. Of a record, that is. Lateralus definitely deals with the whole spiral thing, and we'll get to that even more so. Just this whole downward spiral, even... And I think the beginning intro riff is something I also hold sort of dear to my heart, as being one of the first songs, first portions of a song that I, at least in terms of riff, I've happy to have learned. Right now, even though I do still need to work on getting to the actual riffs on this record, and I wish I could do the sort of lead work on this track. And the way he grabs it, vocally is still just as much as he does in the past tracks. Six Unleashes just does a thing on his voice and it fucks him up for a while, and it's hard to do live at least. So it's a rare track to... So this is the best way you're going to hear the track. Disposition is... And then we get to Disposition, which is sort of a softer thing. It has a little bongo. You have this weird boom, 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 boom. It's almost like a weird bouncy thing. I'm forgetting what it is supposed to be now, and then you kind of get the bounce again. And it's because Danny Carey's drumming set is kind of a mix of both acoustic and digital, or more electronic drum sets. So where the boom, as he brings on the bass line. That's more when going into reflection / resolution, even though it's really makes sense that they chose to change it to reflection, to be honest. And that's awesome. But Triad is probably one of the best instrumentals that has ever existed. Ever. And especially just, the lead work is fine on it, but once you get into that fucking riffage, it's just hard not to, and it's definitely one of those albums that keep me engaged and awake even when I go there. It's hard not to. Even when I'm nearly dead tired, just there's something to this record that keeps my brain going in the best way possible. And it's that cerebral experience, but in a way that's simple and effective. Something that only a band like Tool has been able to pull off, and other bands that have tried since and have failed, but still managed to somehow make good music. Depending on the bands, I'm not even sure what specifics and references, but yes, sure is good. And Reflection, there's a certain little guitar line that is in Disposition that comes back in Reflection and comes back so much more roaring as a good lead tone. That's probably one of the best ones aside from the lead work or the licks specifically done in Parabola. Or at least, which that does a similar thing too, but you could tell it progresses in that way. And then after Triad, we get to the Voice of God, and it's some aliens and shit, basically. And the way it ends, you get this weird, and it's got this weird static thing, and you hear his vocals, and it adds a sort of horror, a sci-fi horror element to it. And then you hear this weird noise, like almost as if the aliens kind of are cutting them off or something by that point. And if you're listening to this in the physical release, it's a lot more effective, because as it kind of encompasses and kind of ends in this sort of abrupt way, but it's done in such a way that when you start the album over and go back to where you started on The Grudge, it kind of comes around full circle. in a way, you're kind of just, once again, going through a spiral. Almost like Lateralus is sort of hinting at that idea. And I love how they do that. And this record has layers, and it's always found something about itself to where it immediately already grabs your attention from the first listen and finds a way to keep you engaged even more so on repeated listens because of the extra layers of stuff added into it. The digital version does showcase that a little bit more. The only problem I have with it in comparison to this version, especially when it hurts a lot more to listen to Parabola that way, because it doesn't do it justice. The way you listen to it here in the CD, because I guess it's must have been something with the loudness wars, because for some reason the loudness wars were in favor of this band, I guess. Or at least they found a balance between that whole compression thing and what we have now, I guess. Because overall, like I said, I thought I already said it earlier in this, I doubt I did, but I'm going to say it now. This mother fucking beautiful album is none other amongst Tool's many albums, which are all masterclass in their own right. It is the masterclass of the utmost masterclass, as far as I am concerned. Though I understand if the last record, Anima, is yours more specifically, I get it. But this album is to the point of why I'm baffled by the weird redacted thing of Holy Gift that's on the internet that just baffles and pisses me off. I don't even bother to listen to it. It's like, no, just leave Lateralus alone. It's fucking great as it was intended. But anyway, this album, this fucking beautiful album, mwah. What did you guys think about it? Leave a fucking comment below. Let me know, man. And if I missed any other information that could be helpful, as well, and so we can help out the rest of the community here on YouTube about Tool. If not, me recommending CKN's reviews he's doing, which is the last Scar review he's ever done. Rest in peace, dude. By the time 2019 ends, I almost don't blame you because I've considered it myself, but with the hype and Tool, I might stick around even longer. Who knows what's going to happen, and plus with the band thing, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I'm still sticking around. I want to keep going. I'm going to keep going with this and finish out Tool Week, or at least most of Tool Week, and then eventually, over time, I need a lot of time, and I will with the newer album when that finally drops, and I have it finally physically in my hands. I'll probably listen to it the digital, but I have a feeling I probably should listen to it physically like I've always done with every album they've dropped. Because this thing is just amazing overall. Sure, and plus, at first I've skipped segues less, but I never gave them the benefit of the doubt, especially when it came to Anima. Eventually, over time, I did, and I'm glad I gave it a chance and scope more so or less. And this album just continues to always get me every time. They found a way to perfect the sound that they did, and the guitars and everything just tonally just fucking roars a lot here. But it feels like it's been held back and compressed a little too much if you're listening to the digital release, because it doesn't pop out as much in my ears. I don't know why, but when it gets to the heavier stuff, which baffles me that way. But here's my work headset, and it's older and it's already kind of worn. But anyway, again, what did you guys think? Leave a comment below, let me know. If you like this video, rock that like button with thrust if you must. Also, like and follow me on my Facebook, link in the description below for that. And hit that subscribe button here on the YouTubes, and click that notification bell if you want to catch up on my shit. And as always, guys, keep it real, keep it rocking. I'll see you in the next video, which is going to, of course, be, if I can find where I dropped it, of course, 10,000 Days. And then eventually, we'll finally talk about Fear Inoculum when that finally drops, because I'm not sure when it'll be. But anyways, take care, y'all. Aliens and shit.